Independent Study School in Oakland. This is where that's it. It's on Fontaine Street, just off of 580. Now let's take a broader look at the area. Now this is south of Mills College. This is chopper video of, looks like teachers and potentially students leaving the school or going from one building to another as it pans out there. We know that there's heavy traffic on Fontaine Street, presumably parents trying to get to their kids, trying to pick up their kids from school. You can see them walking along the street right now. Again, unclear where this shooting took place, of where, if it was on campus, if it was outside the campus walls. But as you can see there is a line of people just presumably waiting for their kids to come out. It looks like folks are relatively calmly walking out of the school right now. Again, this is reports of a shooting near Sojourner Truth Independent Study in Oakland right now.
So at this point, we do not believe the shooter is on campus at this time. That is what we are being told here at KPIX 5. Again, this is at Sojourner Truth Independent Study. Just to give you an idea where this is, it serves students from kindergarten through high school. According to the school district's website, they do primarily online school, so it's not clear how many students were actually on campus today, but you see the amount of cars out there, and you saw that group of students walking in and out of those buildings. We don't know if they were being evacuated at that time. We do know that we have confirmed 2 patients are en route to Highlands Hospital right now, as that group of students are now congregating outside of the school. So the good news, once again, we don't believe the shooter is on campus or is there, but we do want to try to figure out if there was an active shooting situation. If that was the case, typically what happens is the Oakland Police Department will set up type of perimeter, and they would set up some type of reunification site for parents, of course, who are very concerned and trying to go to the school to check on their parents.
And it looks like just there, Ryan, you saw some kids running to their parents. So it's presumed that the parents are just trying to line up on those cars and trying to connect with their children as they are, single file evacuating from the school right now. Looks like there's also officers obviously on scene. Looks like maybe a fire department truck there. Now, to give you some perspective of where this school is, it's also near a Montessori school. It's like a couple blocks away, and also the Pear Tree Preschool on one side of the school, and then another school that's the Oakland Academy of Knowledge. So there's quite a few schools in this area. As you can see, the cars is completely a mix between, looks like civilian cars and also some law enforcement cars. Again, as Ryan was mentioning, they do not believe that the shooter is still on campus. 2 individuals were taken to Highland Hospital. Again, unclear of where the shooting took place, if it was actually on the school grounds or outside of the school. We're still working on that.
And as you can see, once again, the crowd of students outside of the school grounds right now. Once again, 2 patients en route to Highlands High School. And right now, we're going to stay with us on air and online at CBS News Bay Area, KPIX5 and KPIX.com for continuing coverage of this breaking story. So as we leave you here, we will continue on our stream at CBS News Bay Area. And if you're just joining us on the stream right now, once again, we do have breaking news of reports of a school shooting in Oakland. This is happening in the East Bay. This is at Sojourner Truth Independent Study. It's a K-12 high school used primarily for online school and remote learning. So once again, we do not know how many students were actually on campus, but there is a large group, as you take a live look from Chopper 5, a large group of students, teachers, first responders now outside of that school.
Okay, Oakland police have also confirmed that there was a shooting near or on the campus. We're still waiting to hear from that. But again, this is on Fontaine Street, just off of 580 in Oakland. As you can see, a large group of people outside the entrance to that school there. It's a combination of parents, law enforcement, and students that we saw single file line exiting the school. And you've been seeing some very emotional, as you can imagine, reunions there with parents and teachers and students that were on campus during this incident. As you sort of pan out, you can see the line of cars of parents and caregivers trying to get to the kids that were on campus. Unclear of how many students or teachers were actually on campus at the time of this shooting. Also unclear if the shooting took place on campus grounds or outside of the school. But in this area in Oakland, there are several schools in the area. There's Oak Grove Montessori Montessori school, the Pear Tree Preschool. That's on one side of the school. There's a large field, and then on the other block are these two schools. And then on the other side of the school is the Oakland Academy of Knowledge. We're told all of those schools also have been evacuated. And 2 patients, unclear of their ages or what they were doing at the school, were taken to Highland Hospital in Oakland right now. Still unclear about their conditions.
And we have been told, at least from the Oakland Police Department, at least they have told KPIX5, they don't believe the shooter is on campus right now. And as you look at this scene, for the most part, and this is just from our observation from Chopper 5, it looks fairly calm right now. So as the students are slowly making their way out, you see several first responders, you see emergency crews, you see officers outside, and you see people are calmly walking to and from the school. They're in the parking lot right now. I'm sure there's a lot of parents who are concerned and they're worried. They are driving to campus right now looking to pick up their kids to make sure their children are okay. We do know, once again, 2 patients are en route to Highlands. We don't know if they were teachers. We don't know if they were students. We don't even know if they were part of the actual school itself. We're still unclear if that shooting happened directly on campus, outside of campus, in front of the campus, or in that parking lot area. But as you can see, a lot of police cars right now in front. So there was a big response when this shooting did happen. And so
we actually just confirmed the shooting happened outside of the school. Unclear if that means that it was completely off property or if it was just outside of the school buildings. We're still waiting on that. And in regards to the 2 individuals taken to Highland Hospitals, again, this is just a little bit more information. We confirm there are 2 injuries that we know of right now. And, we mentioned that there has been kind of a mix of people you see there on the ground and of vehicles. There's obviously OPD is on scene and multiple law enforcement agencies, but also parents trying to get to their kids. And yes, it looked like they were calmly leaving the school there. We did see obviously some people running to their parents or running to their loved ones. And you can imagine the emotion and just the things that go through your head when you get an alert or a call from your child's school saying, there's been a shooting, we're on lockdown, you need to come and pick your child up. And just the range of emotions that go through your head. And then that moment when you are reunited with your child or your loved one, it's a dramatic one. And so that's kind of what we're seeing now here at the location as parents try to connect with their kids, but also law enforcement trying to get answers, trying to collect evidence, trying to figure out what's going on. Again, we mentioned they don't believe that the shooter is still on campus and that the shooting did take place outside of the building. Unclear if it's still on the property, but it was outside of the school, the building structure itself.
And let's kind of set the scene right now. You can see the freeway that's going right by. That is the MacArthur Freeway. Again, this is Sojourn Truth Independent Study. It is part of the Oakland Unified School District. It serves students from kindergarten through high school. According to the school district website, they primarily do online learning. So there may not be a lot of students that are actually on campus. And as Elizabeth had mentioned, there are several schools around that area. We're unsure if they were actually on lockdown right now or if they have been evacuated. As you can see, one of the police helicopters is in the area, assuming they're still doing an active search for that shooter. But the good news, they do not believe that shooter is on campus right now.
Again, this school, Sojourner Truth Independent Study, this is in Oakland. It's part of OUSD. And as Ryan mentioned, it's an independent study school where there's a lot of online learning going on. So it's not a traditional campus where students, a ton of kids show up all at once and then they're in their individual classes. It's a little bit more of a different protocol there. But we could see just a stream of looks like kids and students. This is a K through, I believe, 8th grade school or 12th grade school. And so a lot of grades there. And so you saw kind of a combination of students and parents, single file exiting the school. And you saw some, as you can imagine, some very emotional reunions. And then there's just that street next to it. Fontaine Street is just bumper to bumper of parents trying to get to their loved ones. Also law enforcement trying to get through. And it's just right now, it's just a parking lot where parents are just running to the entrance of the school trying to connect with their children. We can confirm there are 2 injuries right now. They were sent to Highland Hospital. The extent of those injuries, we don't know. Also, OPD is saying that the shooting, they think, took place off outside of the school itself. Unclear if that means it's off campus or if it was just outside of the actual school building, but we're waiting to confirm that. And the schools that you were mentioning, Ryan, it's an Oak Grove Montessori school, which is about a couple blocks away. It's behind the field on this campus. Also the Pear Tree Preschool, which is on the other side. And then on the other side is the Oakland Academy of Knowledge. So quite a few schools in this area as well.
So there are two active scenes right now. Obviously, you have the school itself. That is the independent study school, the Sojourner Truth Independent Study School. Also, you have the Highlands Hospital, where Liz just mentioned 2 patients. We don't know if they were teachers, students, or even members of the campus that are en route to Highlands. We have several crews that are now headed both to the school and to the hospital, and we have just received word from Oakland PD. They plan to give an update and give us some information on the school grounds about what exactly happened on campus during this shooting. As you can see, several cars there now parked in front of that school. You see the fire truck. You see several civilian cars, which could be parents or teachers, possibly even students. You see several of those cruisers. Those are from Oakland Police Department, and I'm assuming several different agencies, along with the CHP and the Alameda County Sheriff's Department, also responding because this was a shooting at a school. So we are expecting to get an update from the Oakland Police Department just in a few moments. We have a crew on the way to the school right now, and we'll bring that to you live as we get new information about what exactly happened in this shooting.
Again, this is Sojourner Truth Independent Study in Oakland off of Fontaine Street there. And I just noticed, Ryan, that there were less people coming out of the entrance to the school. So I'm wondering if that means that the people that were in fact in the school are all evacuated and hopefully reunited with their loved ones. Again, this is sort of a wide view. You can see sort of this line of cars, and trust me, it goes all the way back. It's essentially a parking lot of mix between official vehicles, OPD, fire departments, and other agencies that are responding to this. Again, OPD saying they are confirming it did happen outside of the school, not saying if it happened inside the school building or even on the property, but they were told that the shooting happened outside. They don't think that the shooter is still on the premises right now, so we can only assume that they are currently looking for this individual. We know that there are 2 injuries to report right now, both taken to Highland Hospital. We still don't know the extent of their injuries. You can see a line of just countless police cars there responding to the scene, as well as parents also trying to kind of figure out what to do, where to go. As you can imagine, just the panic that goes through your mind when you hear about a shooting at your son or daughter's school and what you should do and where to find them. All you want to do is just connect to them. And earlier, about 10 minutes ago, we saw a large group of people exit the building, and we saw some emotional reunions and people running to their loved ones, so grateful to be safe in their arms. And again, this is just something that unfortunately we've heard all too often about across the country and here in California. And, you know, just the panic that goes through your mind, you know, both as a student or as a teacher on the school premises, but also the parents and caregivers that are trying to make sure that their child is safe.
Yeah, this has become an all too real situation for a lot of schools and parents. And I don't want to say we become numb to these types of shootings, but they're happening so often and more frequently, it seems. And you saw the police response there, and it looks like through the trees, it looks like there's a few more students and maybe teachers and first responders now walking out. But as you mentioned, Liz, when Chopper 5 first got on the scene, we did see that line of students in formation walking to and from one of the buildings. Maybe they were actually making their way out to the front of the parking lot, where we did see that very large group of students maybe reuniting
Looks like
with their
there's
parents.
another line of people coming out,
there's
so
a
I'm wondering if they're going by building by building. It's a large campus when they
it's a very
pan
big
out,
campus.
and you see, and it looks like it's like one big building, but there's all these sections that are sort of connected to it. There's also a large ball field essentially right next to it, and then as you can see, a lot of those trees, and then there's sort of some empty space behind it to give you kind of an idea of where the school is. It sort of pans out there. There you go. You can see the fields, and on the other side of those fields are the 2 the two schools I was mentioning, Oak Grove Montessori and the Pear Tree Preschool for the younger children. So still unclear of whether those schools were placed on lockdown or completely evacuated, and where the parents were told to go get their children there. I'm sure there's a lot of confusion, as there always is with these types of situations. Unfortunately, it's a lot of unknown of if your child is, number one, safe, and also where to get them, and you want everything to happen as quickly as possible. And so you can see a lot of parents just basically parked their cars and just walked and probably ran to the entrance to the school, trying to, unify with their kids.
And it looks like, for the most part, a lot of those cars, when Chopper 5 first got onto the scene, it was a parking lot there, and it was probably a lot of the parents coming through. You mentioned the size and scope of the school. It's not an elementary school. It's not just a middle school. It's not just a high school. This is a K through 12 school, so the range of students from young to teenagers and older teens, it runs the whole gamut there. It is primarily an online school, but it appears there were several students in class when this shooting happened, and a lot of those students were out on the parking lot right now. But the good news, it is a much calmer scene right now. There are still a lot of police officers and still a lot of activity there, but it seems to be a lot slower. A lot of people are just kind of gathering their information, trying to figure out what exactly happened. As you mentioned before, the Oakland Police Department confirming that they do not believe the shooter is still on campus. But what we do know is at least two patients were taken to the hospital at Highlands. That's another shot of some of the first responders and rescue crews that were there as they're gathering right now. Not sure if those two patients were students, not sure if they were teachers, not sure if they were campus staff.
Or even if the shooting happened on campus.
Exactly. And so we're still trying to figure out some of those details, but the Oakland Police Department informing us that they plan to give some type of press conference and give more information to exactly what happened. This will happen on the campus at Sojourn Truth Independent Study.
When we look at kind of the scene right now, you mentioned, Ryan, it's a calmer scene. There doesn't seem to be a lot of panic. Now, we're far enough away, it's hard to kind of tell which agency is that we're looking at there. But I will say, unfortunately, we've covered active shooting situations before at shopping malls and unfortunately schools too. And there is, when they are actively looking for the shooter or shooters, there is more activity. There's more of a sense of urgency in terms of trying to get the school on lockdown and to canvass the scene there. I'm not seeing that kind of energy right now, so you can assume that the shooter is indeed far away from the premises here. And right now, those officers are just trying to make sure that everybody's out of the building and everybody is safe that's out of the building. And of course, they're looking to gather more information on exactly what happened. And so are we. I mean, what we know right now is this happened at Sojourner Truth Independent Study, which is a K through 12 school in Oakland. It's a different kind of formatted school where a lot of the classes are online, but there were students on campus at the time of all this. And just a short time ago, we saw them exit single file out of the building. A lot of them had some emotional reunions with their parents. And if you pan back, you can still see the line of cars that are just basically turning Fontaine Avenue, which is the street right in front, into a parking lot. And it's first responders, it's parents. And Ryan, you have an update for us?
Yeah, we have an update right now on the number of victims taken to the hospital. We have confirmed that 3 patients have been taken to Highlands Hospital, 2 patients taken to Eden, that's in the Castro Valley area. We do not know the makeup of their injuries or the status of their injuries. We do not know if they're students or teachers right now. But once again, we have confirmed at least 5 patients injured in this shooting as a result of this shooting, 3 taken to Highland, 2 taken to Eden. And we do want to mention, this is on the heels of, we just had that shooting last month. That was at Vallejo High School, and that was involving some people that were not part of the actual school. They were coming off campus, but what happened in that situation was you had an assistant football coach that was trying to break up the fight or some type of argument that was happening outside of that campus at Vallejo High School in the parking lot. and that assistant football coach ended up getting shot and taken to the hospital. We don't know the situation, what happened here in Oakland, but once again, we do have can confirm at least 5 people taken to the hospital, 3 to Highlands and 2 to Eden.
And it looks like right now that there's a lot of law enforcement on the ground right now going back to the school. Again, cars kind of parked every which way. It's a combo of parents and law enforcement, just parents trying to get to their children as fast as possible, and also law enforcement responding to the scene as quickly as possible. You see some ambulances there, countless police cars as well. And also, too, what we're not seeing is the area surrounded. Again, I mentioned there were 2 Montessori school, Oak Grove Montessori, and the Pear Tree Preschool just on the other side of this campus, and also the Oakland Academy of Knowledge, which is another school. And it's just a very, right now it's a calm scene, but we did see just some, as you can imagine, emotional reunions outside the school. Parents so happy to be with their children. And again, not a lot of information yet about what exactly happened, if this happened on the school property inside the building, or if this was outside. It's a big campus. It's a large building, and there's several kind of different sections of the building. As we saw kids and teachers exiting, you saw there's a big kind of courtyard in the middle there, and there's also a large field right next door to it. You see a group of individuals walking over there. It looks like mostly law enforcement, but they don't believe that the shooter is still on the premises. Again, not quite clear where the shooting happened, but as Ryan mentioned, 5 victims so far, 3 patients taken to Highland, 2 taken to Eden Hospital. Unclear of the extent of their injuries. But back here in the scene at the...
This looks like students coming out right now.
Yeah, it looks like students, and looks like, I see one.
Maybe it's with some parents, and they're kind of holding each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, very shaken, as you can imagine, even if they were not part of the shooting, knowing that there's some type of active shooting situation happening on campus, and you're in one of the classrooms, you don't know what's happening right now, and so you're just getting orders to lock down. That's got to be an absolutely frightening scene for a lot of these students and the teachers. And it looks like there's like a gathering point right there. So maybe that's kind of the reunification area where a lot of the students and their parents are meeting up right now to get reunited and to make sure they're safe and make sure that everyone is accounted for.
Yeah, you can imagine just how scary that would be, not only, of course, for the students that are inside the building, but also for parents. And I'm curious, every school does it differently. Every school district does it differently on how they contact parents and caregivers when something like this happens. But you can imagine it's a panic situation, and you just want to get to the school as fast as possible. And so you drive your car as fast as possible, and you park it wherever you can, and then you run to the entrance of the school, just hoping that your child will be waiting there for you. And luckily, it looks like there were some reunions there. As you can imagine, this is a group of police cars that are sort of surrounding the campus. And back of the campus is sort of an open area that's that nothing is built over there. It sort of looks like kind of a preserved area. But again, the mood here looks like it's more of a reunification area where a lot of the police officers are assisting with that. You don't see the panic and the sense of urgency that you get when there's a situation like this and they're currently looking for the shooter. They think the individual might be near the premises. You don't get that vibe from these pictures right now.
And Liz, I do want to mention that we had mentioned there's multiple agencies that were likely involved in this. You saw the first responders. We have confirmed that the Alameda County Sheriff's Department was also assisting along with the Oakland Police Department, and the Oakland Police Department now passing along this information. They're asking other people to just avoid the area right now. Obviously, this is an active investigation, and they want to try to keep people away from this area, the looky-loos, and that could, hamper some of the investigation and hamper some of the actual parents who do need to go there to pick up their kids.
Right.
And so we haven't heard any word of where the parents are supposed to meet the students. If you do indeed have a student at that school, sometimes they set up a reunification site that is off campus, so it does not interfere with the investigation. But because this is not an active scene, so to speak, without the shooter not believed to be on campus right now, that might necessarily not be the case. So parents might be being allowed in, because we did see that one group of looked like students and teachers just kind of huddling underneath the tree.
Yeah.
Here's a wider look at that school. This is a big school.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Ryan, you don't get a perspective of just how big it is until you pan out. You're like, wow, this is a large school, and again, it services K through 12 students. So you can imagine there's lots of different kinds of classrooms, and it just brings me back to the VTA rail yard shooting, where you had this big facility, and there were a lot of different buildings kind of connected to each other, and that's where really the challenge it came with people trying to get out, was that there were so many different exits and entrances, and it got to be really chaotic and confusing for folks trying to kind of get out of there as fast as possible. And you saw earlier, we saw some people exiting single file outside of the building, going through kind of an in courtyard area, and then through the main building, and then to the entrance to the school there. But you can imagine when something like this happens, there's a lot to do, and unclear, because this is an independent study school, and what that means is that it's not a traditional curriculum. There's a lot done online, and a lot of times kids are doing this at home. It's not done at the school, so it's unclear actually how many students were on campus at the time. But we do know it's a large school. It services a lot of kids, K through 12, a lot of age ranges there. So so you can imagine, there's lots of teachers, lots of administrators, and then surrounding the area there are schools too, and there's also a neighborhood. So you can imagine what's going through the minds of the people who live in that area, and those other schools are wondering, what's going on? Should we be worried? Should we evacuate? What should we do?
Well, I'm sure that neighborhood, I mean, you look right to the right of it, there's an actual neighborhood that's right next door. As those police cruisers were going by, those are actual homes. And a lot of those homes, I'm sure they were put in a lockdown situation also. Also getting some little bit more clarification exactly about this school, the Sojourner Truth Independent K through 12. We're now believing that it actually shares a building with other schools right now. So And I'm getting in my ear from the producer, Rusdale Newcomer School.
Yes, I'm seeing Bay Area Technology School and Rusdale Newcomer High School that also share this building. So that makes sense why the building is so large. So we're assuming that those schools were also evacuated. And it looks like maybe the entrance or the exit that they went out was actually through Sojourner Truth Independent Study. And to give you an idea of where this is in Oakland, it's on Fontaine Street, right near the MacArthur Freeway, 580 there. Doesn't look like this whole scene is impacting traffic in a major way on 580, but just look at the backup on Fontaine Street of just the folks exiting. And so it's assumed that a lot of these students are not necessarily only with Sojourner Truth, they're also with this Rusdale Newcomer High School and the Bay Area Technology School. And then the neighborhood that we were speaking of, there's two schools for younger kids, a Montessori school and also the preschool. And then there's another school on the other side, the Oakland Academy of Knowledge, all affiliated with OUSD. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of kids, a lot of parents we're dealing with right now just in this area.
So let me give you a quick recap. So 5 hurt in the shooting near the school. We have confirmed that 3 of those patients have been taken to Highlands Hospital, that's in Oakland, and 2 taken to Eden in the Castro Valley area. Not sure if those were teachers, if they were students. We don't know the status and their condition of the victims that were, I can't say that if they were even shot or not. We don't know exactly what happened there. We just know 5 people were hurt because as a result of this shooting happening near the school. This is in Oakland right now. Originally, this was the Sojourner Truth Independent Study. We just confirmed that several schools share that building, which gives you an idea of the size and scope of that building, but it's also a K through 12, so it's not just a kindergarten school or elementary school or just a middle school or high school. It serves the whole gamut from K through 12. We saw a lot of those students leaving, and it looked like there was another group that was walking down the street, and you can only imagine what so much is happening within the news and around the country. I don't want to bring this up, talking about Uvalde and just knowing that there's some type of shooting and a first-person shooter possibly on or near the campus. Those classrooms immediately go into lockdown. A lot of fear, a lot of emotion. I'm sure there's a lot of students that were probably texting, calling their parents, their friends, their loved ones, and obviously, I can't even imagine as a parent, getting one of those texts from your child.
No,
and they're inside, and immediately, of course, you're going to drop whatever you're doing, get into a car, and immediately rush to that school.
We keep talking